Okay, hot unpopular take, but many of our elders in the Black diaspora don't have any interest in actually building generational wealth for their offspring, nieces, and nephews. They actually have a vested interest in watching you struggle and suffer like they had to struggle. Taking myself, for example, I'm a mixed race woman from a Jamaican family. I was born in Montego Bay, Jamaica, and emigrated to the United States when I was 5 years old, and I am now a naturalized US citizen. So I come from primarily Jamaican background. Basically, I'm a first gen person, right? Additionally, I have a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology with a minor in Anthropology and a law degree. So, in addition to my lived experiences, I come with educational credentials before anyone tries to come for me. So, being raised and brought up in a Jamaican household with Jamaican extended family members here in America, I have observed two things when it comes to the discussion around generational wealth. So, the first thing I've observed is that there's this idea that if I struggled, you have to struggle too. So if I suffered, you have to suffer too. If I didn't have help or resources or guidance or a little extra push, you shouldn't get it either. You see this play out in scenarios where an elder who could be a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle will tell you when you're asking for help or in need of assistance with anything, they'll tell you, well, figure it out. I had to figure it out. So you should figure it out too. Even if that elder has access to the resource or to the assistance that you need. Some more concrete examples of this is like, for example, you turn 16, you get your driver's license, you have an aunt or an uncle who has a paid off old beater car sitting in their garage that they're not using, that they don't need. That aunt or uncle won't either gift you that car or they won't let you drive it for free, basically, because in their mind, well, I had to pay for it. I had to figure out a way to get it. Why should I enrich you and help you when nobody helped me? You know what I mean? If you struggle and if you suffer, it'll teach you something. It'll make you a better person. You learn from it because I learned from my struggle, basically. Like I've observed in the Black diaspora, that they have this idea that generational wealth is something that just happens by magic. It happens because one person comes into like lottery winnings of $10 million and then boom, that one person is now the generational wealth. And that's just not how it works in reality. We know that in reality, generational wealth is such an all-encompassing broad term. It's rather incremental, piecemeal, smaller steps that increase someone's like net worth or someone's ability to access a resource, right? So it could be a car that a 16-year-old needs to drive to school or to get to an after-school job or to get to an internship that they don't necessarily have the money to buy. But if a family member has a spare car just sitting in their garage, then that 16-year-old then would have a vehicle and transportation that they just have to put their own gas into, right? Or it could be a child who is in college and who needs somewhere to live, and rent is expensive, housing costs are prohibitive nowadays, and you have family members who don't believe in letting family members live with them, even if they pay them something for rent, or you have parents who don't believe that, you should get out of my house as soon as you turn 18. I don't care what you do. You better figure it out yourself. And no, I'm not helping you either. It's those kinds of smaller, like day-to-day interactions and examples that really just prove that our elders have, again, no interest in building generational anything for us, their offspring. And I say generally because there are some elders who see the vision, but by and large, in the Black diaspora in particular, that is not the case. And yes, I know there may be exceptions. I'm speaking from the own lived experience of my own observations and my own family and in my own network and whatnot. Yeah, I know there are exceptions, but again, those are the minority. That's the exception. I'm talking about what the general expectation is. Again, this idea that no one should be given a free ride, no one should be given any assistance because I didn't get that. So why should you? You know what I mean? It's almost very individualistic, and these are the same folks who pride themselves on talking about community, but community only becomes available under very specific circumstances. It's not something that you can widely access. So that's the first observation in Black diaspora settings and culture. I suffered, so you should too, because you'll be better for it. Which leads to the second observation, which is that resources and opportunity for economic advancement are so few and far between in the Black diaspora, whether it's among Black Americans here in the United States or people of African descent in the Caribbean or actually in Africa or in Latin America. Resources for advancement and opportunity for moving ahead are just so few and far between. The few people who get one little tiny little resource, whether it's a decent paying job or a nice apartment or a nice home, they view that they have to hoard that resource and cling onto it and not share it with anyone. Otherwise, in their mind, they'll lose it and not be able to access it. Or in holding on to that resource and not sharing it, they're not enriching anyone else. It's just to enrich themselves. So basically, yeah, I have this thing, but I'm not sharing it or giving you access to it in any way whatsoever, because if I do that for you, then you'll go farther than me, and there's only enough resources for just one person here. And then I'll help you in doing something that no one helped me in doing. So it's like a twofold kind of like prong, if you will. So on the one hand, you figure it out on your own and, suffer for it, but you'll be a better person for it. You'll learn responsibility or whatever. And then on the other hand, yeah, I could help you. Yeah, I could provide you with this resource. I could help you get a leg up, even in some minor way, but I'm not going to do that because there's only so much of this resource to go around. And if I share it with you, then I'm decreasing how much of it I can have access to for myself. And please understand that idea that if I share this resource with you, then I have less of it for myself, even translates to like parent-child relationships. The parent will tell their own child that, right? We're not talking about a parent telling a stranger that. The parent will tell their own child, yes, I, have a home somewhere for you to live, but I don't want you here because you're an adult now and you can figure it out. And no, I'm not going to help you figure it out either. I'm not going to give you resources or tools. I'm just going to give you a date to get out of my house by. And too bad, so sad. And those same people, those same miserly, stingy, mean, cruel people will subscribe to podcasts talking about how to build Black generational wealth and how to get money back in our communities and how to stretch the Black dollar. Okay, well, that looks like, it doesn't just look like flipping houses. It doesn't just look like going viral and, landing some kind of record label contract. That looks like day-to-day, smaller, incremental, piecemeal steps. That looks like helping family members pick up kids from school when there's a single mom in the family who has to work late. That looks like if one family member works in the human resources department of a particular employer, then they do everything in their power to help those immediate family members find employment there. That looks like family members who are in college or in school, you call them and ask them if they need money for groceries. Do they need help paying for textbooks? How are you doing? Is there anything I can help support you with in this endeavor for your educational credentials? That's what it looks like. It's piece by piece, incremental. It's not these huge grand gestures. It's built up over time. That's how generational wealth is. It's generational. So it took more than one generation to get to it. Another side effect too of that scarcity idea that, well, there are only so many resources to go around, so whatever I have to hold on to and not share it with anyone, is this like deep-seated envy or jealousy of anyone in your community who's trying to undergo some form of self-improvement that hasn't already been achieved by someone in that environment. So for example, a member of the family pursues a professional degree that hasn't been achieved by anyone in their immediate family, or a member of the community decides to create or start a nonprofit or a business of some kind that hasn't already been started by someone in that environment. You would expect the people in your community to rally around and support in any way possible. It's not just financial, but in any way possible. And they don't. They have the opposite effect. Instead, you're met with jealousy, you're met with envy, you're met with basically antipathy or whatever. And then again, these same people wonder, well, why are our communities so bereft of financial resources and opportunities? Why don't we have generational wealth? Because generational wealth doesn't just look like having $10 million out of the clear blue sky and then that's it. Generational wealth is built brick by brick, one decision at a time. You can't tell these folks that though. These miserly, stingy, pinchy Kobe, miserable, mean, judgmental people, especially Jamaicans, just judgmental, religious, very religious, but also in the same breath, very judgmental. And that's another discussion entirely. But no, our elders in the Black diaspora have actually no vested interest in building generational wealth or anything for us, their descendants, because we have access to things that they could only dream of having access to. And as a result, they're jealous of us for it, and would rather see us suffer and struggle like they had to, instead of being given the easy way out.